Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Prime Minister to visit Jammu. Visit comes a day after India sent out a strong message to Pakistan over repeated ceasefire violations. Aam Aadmi canteens to be a reality soon. Delhi government announces decision to roll out cheap and healthy food for working class. Opposition calls it a gimmick. Four U.S. Marines shot dead by a lone gunman at a Navy center in Tennessee. Authorities call it a domestic terror attack. Russia rebuffs call to UN for a tribunal to prosecute those responsible for the MH17 downing. Ukraine vows to bring perpetrators to justice on the first anniversary of the tragedy. And after bagging the ODI series, India look to continue their dominance against Zimbabwe in T20s as well. First match to be played in Harare today. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Jammu today. His visit comes a day after India sent out a strong message to Pakistan over repeated ceasefire violations and its claims of having shot down an Indian spy drone. Here's a report.
Against the backdrop of several infiltration attempts from across the border and continued ceasefire violations by the Pakistan Army, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Jammu today. The Prime Minister is scheduled to take part in the centenary celebrations of former Jammu and Kashmir Finance Minister Girdhari Lal Dogra. The venue of the function, General Zorawar Singh Auditorium of the Jammu University, has been sealed and the entire university has been turned into a fortress. Modi's visit comes a day after fresh ceasefire violations by the Pakistan Army in which at least 4 civilians were injured, forcing India to send out a strong message to Pakistan over repeated violations.
We remain committed to steps that contribute to ensuring peace and tranquility on the border. However, there should be no doubt that any unprovoked firing from the Pakistani side would meet with an effective and forceful response from our forces. Nor will we let down our guard against infiltration and counterterrorism.
The renewed tension in ties did not end with that. Pakistan claimed that it shot down an Indian surveillance drone at the LOC. India outrightly rejected that claim.
When Indian ministry has said that this drone is not ours, and we have seen the pictures, it is of Chinese origin, it's absolutely clear that Chinese have supplied Pakistan, and they are supplying drone technology to Pakistan. It could be one of their drones.
The escalating hostilities have chilled a brief thaw in ties after Prime Ministers Nawaz Sharif and Narendra Modi met in Russia, but appeared unlikely to thwart a planned meeting of national security advisors. Modi has also agreed to visit Pakistan in 2016. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on to another of our top focus stories, it is the first anniversary of the downing of flight MH17 over Ukraine, in which 298 people were killed. As investigations continue into the tragedy, Ukraine and Russia have both denied any responsibility for the tragedy. The latest call for a UN tribunal to punish those responsible has kicked up a new storm.
Fresh footage of the tragic day 1 year ago when the Malaysian airline MH17 crashed in Ukrainian territory held by Russian-backed separatists. Ukraine has vowed justice for the 298 passengers on board the plane who were killed.
A year ago, we made an oath that those responsible for the tragedy would be punished. Those are not empty words. The murderers should know that the punishment is inevitable.
Western governments believe the rebels shot down the plane at cruising altitude with a Russian-supplied missile system. Russia has rejected that claim. In fact, Moscow has criticized the call for a UN International Criminal Tribunal to prosecute those responsible for downing the plane.
Если в Вашингтоне все известно, а Соединенные Штаты активнейшим образом поддерживают создание трибунала через резолюцию Совета Безопасности, то, наверное, можно свести концы с концами очень легко и понять, какую цель этот трибунал будет преследовать. Получается, он должен обеспечить наказание тех, в виновности которых уверен Вашингтон.
The Netherlands is leading the criminal investigation, which is also assisted by Belgium, Australia and Ukraine. A final report on the cause of the crash is due to be released in October by the Dutch Safety Board. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Over to Greece now, where keeping the Greek economy afloat, EU finance ministers have released a €7 billion bridging loan to Greece. And there's more emergency funding for Greek banks from the ECB, allowing the government to announce reopening of banks next week. It will help Greece sail through the immediate debt crisis before further reform measures are discussed. Here's more.
Providing some relief to the cash-strapped Greek economy, the Eurozone leaders appear to be softening their stand after the Greek parliament passed the new reforms. EU finance ministers have agreed on a €7 billion bridge loan to Greece using the European Financial Stability Mechanism. The European Central Bank has also raised the level of emergency funding available. The decision will ensure reopening of Greek banks, which have been shut for nearly 3 weeks from Monday. However, credit controls limiting cash withdrawals to €60 a day will only be eased gradually.
I'm happy to say that in the course of this afternoon, and you and the ECOFIN found an agreement on the bridge financing from now to mid-August, I guess, and I'm very happy that we were able to find this agreement along the lines of the proposal of the Commission.
The bridging loan will allow Greece to repay its €4.2 billion debt to the ECB and the missed payments to the IMF. The German parliament will vote on the €86 billion bailout for Greece today. Some Eurozone states still need to give the green light on the deal, following which the negotiations will take place. Eurogroup president advised ending talks of a euro exit and focusing on achieving long-term results.
Dus ook hier geldt langjarige voorwaarden. Zelfs als het programma as such klaar is, de langjarige voorwaarden geldt. Griekenland moet een primair overschot blijven leveren om haar schuld langjarig te kunnen betalen. En als ze dat doen, dan zijn we mogelijk, ik blijf mogelijk zeggen, tot oktober, bereid tot schuldverlichtende maatregelen.
The emergency funds come as a lifeline for Greece, but the battle to stay in the Eurozone is far from over. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to the US now, where in another domestic terrorist attack in the US, 5 people were left dead, including the suspected terrorist in Tennessee. Officials say it is too early to speculate on the motive, but US law enforcement authorities are increasingly concerned about the threat posed by such lone attackers. President Barack Obama assured a prompt investigation into the shootings. Here's more.
In a freak incident in Tennessee, US, a gunman shot down 4 Marines and injured several others in a rampage at 2 US Navy buildings on Thursday morning. The suspect, Mohammed Yusuf Abdulaziz, believed to have acted alone, opened fire at the 2 facilities in Chattanooga. No injuries were reported from the military center on Lee Highway, the first scene of accident. Then the accused drove off to the Naval Research Center, gunning down 4 Marines before being shot dead himself.
We do know that we have 4 individuals who were killed, who are victims. We know that the shooter was killed at the scene as well. Also, 1 Chattanooga police officer was shot in the ankle and has been treated very well at Erlanger, as well as there were some other individuals who were shot and have also been treated.
There were 2 separate locations. Both of them were military facilities, both Naval Reserve facilities here in Chattanooga. We believe the one over on Lee Highway occurred first, and then, and I believe this is probably public record, Chattanooga PD began pursuit of the individual, and it ended at the second naval facility.
Armed policemen were seen raiding the house of the suspect, but there are little details on the motive of the killings. Officials described as yet another brazen and brutal act of domestic terrorism. In memory of the brave Marines, US President Barack Obama offered condolences, saying it was a heartbreaking attack on the individuals who have served the country with great valor. He promised a thorough and prompt investigation into the incidents.
We take all shootings very seriously. Obviously, when you have an attack on a U.S. military facility, then we have to make sure that we have all the information necessary to make an assessment in terms of how this attack took place and what further precautions we can take in the future. But in the meantime, I'd ask all Americans to pray for the families who are grief-stricken at this point, and I want everybody to understand that we will be thorough and prompt in figuring out exactly what happened.
Domestic gun violence in the US has been a cause of concern with the rising number of incidents of a similar fashion in the last year. Lockdowns had been put in place at businesses, a college and other facilities near the recent shooting sites in Tennessee, but a lot more needs to be done to prevent such threats in future. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
A look now at the other stories making headlines around the globe in our World Wrap. Twin bomb blasts rocked a local market in Nigeria, killing at least 50 people in Gombe on Thursday. Parts of vehicles and shops were burnt down in the explosions. The injured were rushed to the hospitals nearby. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack so far, but they bear the hallmarks of attacks by Boko Haram. The Syrian army, backed by Lebanese ally Hezbollah, has advanced deeper into the besieged city of Zabadani. The army began its campaign to capture the city from the insurgents 2 weeks back. Heavy artillery fire and intense aerial bombardments were provided as cover for the army advancement. Regaining Zabadani would be strategic gain for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, who is battling the Islamic State militants. The restoration of formal diplomatic relations between Cuba and the United States draws to a close. Cuban President Raul Castro said that the island nation was prepared to break with the contentious past and peacefully coexist with the United States. The two countries announced the historic restoring ties in December last year. Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come. Aam Aadmi Party announces it will open subsidized canteens for working class in Delhi. Opposition finds the move difficult to swallow. That and much more on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Cancer is becoming a very, very important disease of our country. It's not as rare as it used to be earlier. Brain happens to be the most challenging of them, and we don't still have answers to many of them.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Chitra Shorkar, neuropathologist at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the Delhi government is going to set up highly subsidized Aam Aadmi canteens. These canteens aim to serve nutritious meals at 5 to 10 rupees, targeting the working class population. The Aam Aadmi Party government aims to roll out the first such canteen in 2 months' time. Here's more.
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal gives a go-ahead to the scheme of setting up Aam Aadmi canteens proposed by the Delhi Dialogue Commission. Aam Aadmi canteen will serve breakfast, lunch and dinner at reasonable rates between 5 rupees and 10. Canteen aims to target an estimated 10 lakh construction workers, 5 lakh street vendors and over 5 lakh families living in slums.
बड़ी संख्या में लोग अस्पतालों में रोज आते हैं और 200 से ऊपर हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं और उसके अलावा करीब 70-80 टेक्निकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं. तो ये हमारा टारगेट ग्रुप है. ये इनको सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरत अच्छे खाने की, साफ़ सुथरे खाने की और लो कॉस्ट खाने की इस तबके को है. तो ये स्कीम पूरी तरीके से इस ऑडियंस की तरफ टारगेटेड रहेगी.
Kejriwal has decided to follow the model of Tamil Nadu and Odisha's hugely popular subsidized canteens to provide nutritious food to all at affordable rates. But the opposition finds this move hard to swallow.
नकल के लिए भी अकल चाहिए. अब अगर उनकी पार्टी को यही समझ में आता है कि जो चाय पे चर्चा हुई वो उससे वजह से जो है वो देश जो है वो एकजुट हो गया था। तो आपको भी तो कुछ बताना पड़ेगा ना।
ये जो योजना इन्होंने की है कि हम 10 रुपए की थाली देंगे, ये सिवाय लोगों को गुमराह करने के, लोगों की भावनाओं से खेलने के और दिल्ली के ऊपर जो बोझ इन्होंने डाला है और आज जिस आलीशान तरीके से ज़िंदगी गुजार रहे हैं तमाम आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता, आज गरीब आदमी अपने आप को ठगा महसूस कर रहा है, उसको कॉम्पनसेट करने के लिए जन आहार योजना के बदले ये योजना लेके आए।
The canteen's priority is to provide hygienic food to underprivileged people at a cost far cheaper than Jan Ahar stalls run by former Delhi Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit. These canteens will be placed near hospitals, educational institutes, commercial hubs and industrial areas. However, Aam Aadmi Party has many steps to climb and tackle the financial burden on them in order to open its first canteen within 2 months. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning to talk about this is Deepa Sinha, member Right to Food campaign. She's also a consultant with the Public Health Resource Network. Very good morning and thank you for joining us on the program, Deepa. As far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, it seems like it's going the way of Jayalalitha. Of course, it was launched in some similar canteens were launched in Tamil Nadu, and the Aam Aadmi Party wants to launch such canteens here in Delhi as well. How much of an impact is it going to have really on the Aam Aadmi?
I think it's an excellent initiative, especially in a place like Delhi, where there are so many migrant people, where most women are working, where people depend on food from outside the home. And therefore, there is a need for affordable and nutritious food. And the experience of Tamil Nadu has shown that this really reaches out to people who are in the informal sector, young men who are living alone in the city, even young children whose mothers are working on their way to school are eating breakfast. So the Tamil Nadu experience has been very good. And I think it's something that is required in a city like Delhi, and it's a good initiative that the government has taken.
So you're saying it's the best way to pass on real benefit to the needy sections of society. But, looking at it from another perspective, are subsidized canteens really worth their cost to the exchequer?
Absolutely. Again, if you look at the Tamil Nadu experience, not only are they providing food to those who need it, they're also providing employment to a large number of women who were otherwise not getting decent employment. They're providing hygienic food, which is not available in the cities at a cheap rate. They're providing nutrition. They're helping women who have a double burden of work on them, where they have to do the household work and also work outside. So the number of benefits far outweigh the costs. And even if you look at international experience, we keep talking about Brazil's Zero Hunger program. And the central intervention in the Brazil's program was these huge community kitchens in their urban areas. So there is both international and evidence from within the country to show that these programs are really cost effective. And Delhi government also gets a lot of grain under the National Food Security Act. More than what their quota is for the priority ration card. So they can even use those subsidized grain for these canteens.
So the benefits outweigh the cost is what you're saying. But the opposition, of course, have come out and called it a political gimmick. Do you agree that it could be a political gimmick at some level? Deepa, if you can...
I wouldn't say gimmick, but of course it is
If you can hear me, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, of course, yes, I was saying, of course, it is political, but that is okay. That's what governments are supposed to do. If they're taking steps in for the benefit of people, which also gives them political advantage, I think that's okay. And even the last government started something like this called the Jan Ahar. So this is just an improvement over that.
Indeed, indeed. All right, Deepa Sinha, we'll have to leave it to that. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the program and putting things into perspective for us as far as the Aam Aadmi canteens are concerned. Moving on now, here's a look at what else is slated for the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi, who is on a two-day visit to Rajasthan, will address a conference of party functionaries of state districts and panchayats in Jaipur. Later in the day, he will launch the celebrations of the 125th birth anniversary of Dr. Ambedkar. Rahul Gandhi led a foot march yesterday and continued his attack on the Modi government over the land bill, corruption and Lalit Gate. MOS Home Affairs Haribhai Parthibai Chaudhary will launch Delhi Police Railway Helpline number 1512 in the national capital today. The centre had asked all the states to set up control rooms in their headquarters to receive emergency calls from train commuters from across the state. The dispute between Nestle India and the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India over the recall and ban of Maggi noodles might end as the Bombay High Court will conduct the final hearing in the case today. Fasai had urged the Bombay High Court on Tuesday to recall its order allowing Nestle to export its instant food snack instead of destroying it. A special court in Delhi will pronounce its order on the CBI's final probe report filed in a coal scam case allegedly involving Rajya Sabha MP Vijay Darda and two others. The court had earlier granted bail to the three accused after they had appeared before it. Vijay Darda has denied the allegations against him. Moving on now, the NDA government approved a plan to refurbish 400 railway stations in which the Swiss challenge method will be used to award contracts. The cabinet also approved setting up an expert group to classify the caste-based data of the socio-economic and caste census. Here's a report.
In a bid to accelerate redevelopment of railway stations, the Union Cabinet approved an innovative plan for proposals through open invitation for 400 stations.
जो 400 A1 और A कैटेगरी के रेलवे स्टेशंस क्लासिफाई किए जाएंगे, कोई भी क्रेडेंशियल्स रखने वाला व्यक्ति उसको अपना डेवलपमेंट करने का प्रपोजल सरकार को दे सकता है. उस प्रपोजल को नेट के ऊपर डाल दिया जाएगा और फिर कोई दूसरा व्यक्ति उसको इंप्रूव करना या उस प्रपोजल को बीट करना अपना वैकल्पिक सुझाव देगा. एक्सपर्ट कमेटी होगी जो बेस्ट प्रपोजल को स्वीकार करेगी और सार्वजनिक देगी और जो ओरिजिनल प्रपोजल था उसको एक मौका मिलेगा कि उस प्रपोजल को स्वीकार करने का.
In other decisions taken on Thursday, the Cabinet also approved repealing and amending Third Bill 2015, Phase 2 of E-Court's Mission Mode project, introduction of composite caps for simplification of FDI policy, and Phase 2 of National Cyclone Risk Mitigation project. The Cabinet also gave its approval to set up an expert group led by Niti Aayog Vice Chairman to classify caste-based data of the socio-economic and caste census.
और आज ये तय हुआ कि नीति आयोग के वाइस चेयरमैन डॉक्टर अरविंद पानीग्रिया की अध्यक्षता में एक कमेटी रहेगी जो इस कास्ट डेटा को क्लासिफाई करेगी और फिर जो उस उपयुक्त समय पर यह कार्रवाई जब पूरी हो जाएगी इसको सार्वजनिक किया जाएगा.
The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs also gave its approval to 6-laning the Eastern Peripheral Expressway in Haryana and Uttar Pradesh and the creation of an interstate transmission system in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come. India take on New Zealand in the Davis Cup Asia Oceanic Group 1 tie today. That and other sports news on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Today we bring to you the Benami Transactions Prohibition Amendment Bill 2015.
I feel that there is a lot of overlapping and there may not be any certainty of the action that may be taken under this act.
If we have to challenge the bill or the act on the basis of saying that it's a retrospective effect, you have to show that the offence was not a continuing one.
Watch Law of the Land Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, after a clean sweep in the ODI series, the buoyant Indian cricket team will look to continue their dominance against Zimbabwe in the first T20 international to be played in Harare. India will have very little homework to do after putting up an impressive show both with the bat and ball in the ODI series. Zimbabwe, on the other hand, will rely on their star hitter, Chamu Chibaba, to single-handedly lead them to victory. After a scratchy 4-run win in the opening ODI, India got its act together and outplayed the hosts in the next two one-dayers. On to the Davis Cup now, where India will be eyeing the World Group playoff stage as they take on New Zealand in the Davis Cup Asia Oceanic Group 1 tie in Christchurch today. India will start as favourites as they outweigh the Kiwis on paper. Singles players Somdev Varman and Yuki Bambri are ranked much above the hosts Jose Statham and Michael Venus. Wimbledon semi-finalists Rohan Bopanna and Saket Mainini will play in the doubles. India enjoys a superior record against the Kiwis, having whitewashed them 5-0 last time and have remained undefeated in the last 4 ties. The winner will advance to the World Group playoffs.
Saket Mainini will do the doubles duty in the July 17-19 tie.
A look now at what else is making news in the world of sports. Wimbledon champion Serena Williams has withdrawn from the Swedish Open due to an elbow injury. Williams, who beat Celine Bonaventure in the first round, was forced to pull out of the clay court event on Thursday. She was set to play Czech Klara Kokalova in the second round. Chris Rogers and Stephen Smith both scored unbeaten hundreds in a record-breaking partnership as Australia dominated the first day of the second Ashes Test against England. They have so far amassed 259 runs in the unbroken partnership, breaking the second wicket record at Lord's set by Bill Woodfull and Don Bradman in 1930. At stumps Australia by 337 for 1. Britain will face France in the Davis Cup quarter-final, which starts today. Britain's top seed Andy Murray has been drawn against world number 12 Jo-Wilfried Tsonga in one of the singles ties. France has a strong lineup with 3 of its players occupying 11th to 13th positions in the men's world rankings. They include Wimbledon semi-finalists Richard Gasquet and Giles Simon. Disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong made a low-key return to the Tour de France, taking part in a charity ride. Armstrong was awaited by dozens of journalists, but no fans were there to greet the American. Armstrong was stripped of the 7 world titles he won from 1999 to 2005 after admitting to doping following years of denial. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.